in case you are exceeding 20 minutes, so after 15 minutes, you will get a ring. After 20 minutes, she would be keep on ringing. So we are compelled to stop you and get the comments. So without taking much time, may I invite Melon to the podium.
Right. Okay, all right. American writer Tom Robbins once mentioned, if there's a birth, then there's a death. And in between, there's maintenance. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Edgar Mellon. And in the next 20 minutes, I'm going to take you through my research management field research project, which I conducted as a part of the curriculum under MBA at PIM. And I thank to the entire PIM staff and academic staff for giving me the opportunity to present my thesis or this project at the PIM Annual Research Conference 2022. So, yeah, this is my content, but briefly I'm going through it. And let's focus about the company that I'm representing. I'm representing TJ Lanka PLC. We are the largest and only multinational fabric manufacturer in Sri Lanka. And we make fabric, we make cotton, synthetic, printed material, and lace fabric. And we are on 3 plants, 2 plants in Sitauka Export Extension, namely as TJ Lanka PLC and TJ Prince, and we have another one in Vizag, Visakhapatnam in India, and myself being the group general manager engineering and sustainability, looking after all these 3 plants. So if I may tell about a little bit of about the fabric, that the capacity that we are making in Sri Lanka, fabric that we are making in a 1 day, we can cover Ruangalisaya with 2 layers. And out of the fabric that we are making in 1 week, we can cover entire Southern Highway from Kottawa to Pinnaduwa, all 4 lanes. And out of the fabric that we are making for 1 month, we can cover Colombo Port City 3 times. And if you wonder, the final question, the fabric that we are making for 1 year, we are making fabric more than the circumference of planet of the Earth. So we are largest, and let's, with further ado, we go to the problem identification. So initially I did the SWOT analysis, and one of the weaknesses that I found is the high backlog. What do you mean by backlog? You plan it today, but you cannot complete it today. So you push it for tomorrow. So that is what we call it backlog. And out of the backlog problem that I found, the first factor or first reason is the machinery downtime. That being the problem, and I myself coming as in an engineering background, I thought my project should be focused on engineering or machinery downtime. Then I focused on the main processes of the production. So there are knitting, dyeing, and finishing, because we import yarn, we make knitted fabric, and then we dye it, and then we finish it. So when I analyze, as you can see in the table, when I analyzing, I found that the knitting department and the dyeing department downtime are well managed and within the standard provided or target provided by the company. But the finishing department is not achieving this target. So therefore, I focus my project to focus the machine downtime only in the finishing department. So when I analyze the significance of this problem, I found that 121.5 million LKR, which in that year, our top line was $254 million US, and our bottom line was $12.4 million, which is giving us a profit margin of 4.8%. And if we add this one, if we reduce this particular cost, it could have given us 0.2% of additional profit to our profit margin, which we could have given a half a month bonus to the entire staff. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is the significance of this problem. And when I further analyze it, I found that there are 22 big machines in the finishing department. I mean, if you happen to see a fabric mill, we have bigger machines. So there are 22 machines. So within the time limit, since we got a time limit of 6 months to cover, to finish this project, so I can't focus on all 12. So I focus on the vital, few, and the trivial meaning. So therefore, according to my Pareto analysis, I focus 80% of the machinery downtime, which give this particular problem. So which is, there are 5 machines, stander 3, stander 5, dryer 2, dryer 1, and slitter 2. So therefore, I narrow down, funnel down my projects into the machinery downtime of these particular 5 machines in the finishing department of our company. So let's move on. In the numerical manner, I analyze the performance gap. And as you can see, the average, the downtime should be 2%. That's what the company is giving us. But the actual average is 2.1%. And then I further analyze the sub-problems which are connected to the main problem. So I found machinery breakdowns, because machinery breakdown is one of the biggest factor which affecting to the machinery downtime. I am supporting that one with the warranted knowledge in later. So the actual average is 4.9%, whereas the target is 1.2%. It's huge deviation. And then I further analyze some of the other problems, which I found the premature failure. What do you mean by premature failure? Premature failure is something like, so let me give you an example. In your vehicle, you are trying to replace your brake pad, and the brake pad is supposed to run for 20,000 kilometers. And if the brake pad wear it off at 15,000, that is a premature failure because of the wrong selection, because of the material quality of the problem. So that is, we have the similar case, whereas we are not expecting any premature failure of our spare part, but actual is 7.2. And there's another sub-problem called a repetition of the same breakdown. Let me take the same example. The brake pads. If the brake pads have you provided that you select the top quality spare part, but if it fails again after 5,000 kilometers, and if it again fail in 5,000 kilometers, that is something to do with not the spare part, but the person. If the person is doing a proper job, it should not fail within very short period of time. So we are targeting, if anything happen less than 1 year, we call it repetition of breakdown. And another sub-problem that I have identified is the high quality defects caused by the operator faults. What do you mean by operator faults? Let me take the same example. In your vehicle, if you excessively, if you rest your foot in the brake pedal, we call it excessive braking. So that is nothing to do with the spare part, that is nothing to do with the person who replaced the brake pad, but that is something to do with the operator itself. So therefore, even the operators, if the operators are not properly maintaining or using the machine, there's a problem, because they may not skilled enough or they may not educated enough. And another problem is the engineering team. Of course, the engineering team also have a problem, because the target is 6.3% of the available time, but actually it's 8.5. This is why, because let's say that if I replace the brake pad, it take me about, let's say 1 hour. And if you take, if you take 2 hours, that there's a skill gap. So this is the problem that I'm handling here. I've mentioned as the unskilled, or not the unskilled, but the skill is not up to the certain standard. So the other one is the weekly cleaning. Of course, anybody can clean the machine, because we have operators, we are not so educated, but we have no choice, but it's very hard to find the male workers in Sri Lanka. So therefore, we have to depend with this one. And the cleaning schedules or cleaning procedure, even it's the same procedure, but different shift are cleaning in different times, or they take different time periods. So therefore, that is what I'm mentioning here. So with all that one, me and my team, we conducted a CED, cause and effect diagram. And finally, we found some root causes, whereas I'm not focusing on all root causes because to the limitation of the project and the limitations of my authority, I'm focusing only on the operational level decisions, operational level supports that we can give only. Because there are some strategic decisions, strategic things that I cannot concentrate. So therefore, I have only focus on the operational level. So let me take you briefly about the theoretical background. Of course, as I said, Chong and Eskaras mentioning the downtime, the breakdown is the #1 cost for downtime, and the spare parts, skill technician, process practices are the key factors to affecting to the breakdown. And of course, the human error, as Choi and mentioning in 2001, human error is another big factor for the downtime. And of course, Juran is mentioning original design, poor maintenance, and poor usage. That's why it's mentioned the operator fault. So that is also supported by these scholars. And Cheng and Juran and Eblin is mentioning the redundancy, backup plans, ready plans. So those are the solutions for this kind of problem. And the best model that I found is this bathtub curve, ladies and gentlemen. I tried much searches, but I couldn't find the origin of this bathtub curve, because I found sometime, it has been used in 1700. People have used this model and it's still being using. So the latest I could found is 2003, 2001 and 2017 ranked journals. And it mentioned it's nearly impossible to achieve the zero downtime or zero breakdowns. So therefore, the solution is strong engineering system and procedures. And of course, Malhotra and McAlpine, they mention proactive and preventive approach is the best solution for a faster recovery, not to net zero, but for the fast recovery. But of course, Afridi and his team has mentioned in 2021, predictive maintenance is the future, but predictive maintenance is still expensive problem, because you can find the same, let's say the same vehicle, you have much more sensors and everything, but the vehicle is so expensive, right? So likewise, and again, as per the ADB report in 2018, it mentioned 80% of the male workers in early 20s has no formal job training before they joined the manufacturing sector. So that also suggesting that the peoples or developing country male workers also need a huge amount of training when it comes to the manufacturing processes. So, and again, so I have referred this much of journal articles hope. So, ladies and gentlemen, so this is my study framework. So in any manufacturing organizations, we have machine problem, we have people's problem, which is connecting in between these two is the processes. So I have selected machinery, processes, and human factor to which is affecting or dividing, coming to the machinery downtime problem. And this is my sub-objective. I'm not going to do each one, but of course, I'm focusing on the techniques that I have used. If you can see corrective maintenance, preventive maintenance, AM/PM ratio, process modernization, click technique. Click means cleaning, lubrication, inspection and tightening technique, and the operator training. Why I select so basics? Because one thing in my last I'm in the corporate sector for the last 19 years. In my experience, I found that when you are implementing, when you are introducing bigger techniques like lean manufacturing or Six Sigma or any other big concepts for a large scale manufacturing sector, one thing, it is really expensive and you require a lot of resources. And tell you frankly, we have been implementing 5S, to example, 5S for the last 3 years. It took us about $1.5 million, and still we are not satisfied about that one. So therefore, to implementing for my projects, I have not touched the most complex but proven technologies. So I have only selected techniques which I can manage within the given time period as well as the given budget. So this is my project manager, project team. And of course, the project budget I calculated as 10.13 million, which is comparatively is acceptable. And these are some of the things that as a solution that I have come up with. You can see these are big, large machines, and I have developed the preventive or the corrective maintenance, which you have to replace. There are sometimes if the problems are coming more and more often, rather than replacing each one, you better simply replace the entire assembly. So that is what I am mentioning here. First, you do that one, and then you go. So I have developed entire 1 year preventive maintenance plan and the checklist, pre-preventive checklist, post-preventive checklist, and how to do it within 3 months of time, implementation plan. And then I have developed the corrective maintenance, the major replacement I have identified with the cost incurred in that. And sorry. And then this is the AM/PM ratio improvement plan. I have identified 3 months plan as well as a 1 year plan. So this is, if it is implemented, this is how the implementation project team should drive it. Sorry. So I have identified the work order management, the process profile diagram, and the number of reports that we require to make sure that we are in the right track. And this is the spare part inventory management process profile diagram, as well as the reports which it requires to, and then this is the process modernization. I have identified process modernization. Process modernization is like this one. These are sometimes textile industry, you may know, like, even when King Vijay is coming to Sri Lanka, even the Queen was spinning cotton. So from that time, we were having fabric. But still, we have some traditional problem with the in the industry, because sometimes the technology, when we don't have the technology, people are not using it. This process modernization is the same thing. Let's say if you ask our technicians to come and make a hole in the wall, and it may take about 15 minutes for him to put a extension cord and come in here and put the wall. But if you give him a codeless drill, it's just 5 minutes. So likewise, the process modernization is make using of the available tool and equipment to do it. So this is the technique that I've identified. I've identified all how to do it and how to do the the checklist, and of course the audit checklist as well. So not only the checklist by the operators, but to somebody to audit it as well. So this is the entire KPI list. I have developed the KPI list, which is connecting to the department goals as well as it's connecting to the organization goal. And the training plan, of course, I have done a complete skill metrics, and based on the skill gap, I have developed the training plan, training evaluation, and the budget as well. And the same thing for the engineering technician as well. And this is my summary of solutions. And of course, the outputs and outcomes, I'm not going into much detail. And finally, the cost benefit. The tangible cost benefit itself is 44.5 million, which is giving a benefit to cost ratio about 4.39%, 3-point ratio. And of course, the intangible benefits are much more. But I have not calculated that one because this is more convincible figure. So I think so. In order for the project to be for the project to be sustained, it's just not you implement it and forget it. No, it should be sustained. So I have proposed short-term and long-term strategies. Whereas it's a long-term strategy, the leadership drive. Leadership drive. And as I mentioned, like I started only for 5 machines. You can replicate the same machine for the balance of the machines, and you can replicate the same to the entire factory. So likewise, these are the strategies that I'm proposing in order to sustain the project. So with all that, I'm winding up my presentation. Thank you very much. If you have any question, please, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Edgar, for that wonderful, enthusiastic presentation. And very nice to see that you are still enjoying your MBA learning in the office and applying something, trying to do something.
Thank you,
so the management field research project is all about coming out with, say, practical solutions and to kind of giving a consultancy to the organization, doing adding value to the value creation process. That's truly wonderful. So let's see what the panelists would like to say. May I invite Dr. Bhavan Singh first? Yeah.
Edgar, it's a very interesting presentation. And also I can see your wealth of experience in the profession is being displayed. I have a couple of things actually. Your performance gap, of course, it is 0.9%. Is it from two?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the financial implication of that gap?
Yeah, that is once 121.5 million.
Million in US.
Yeah, so because I have calculated only for that particular 5 machines.
That's exactly 5 machines,
not other machines.
I understand.
So if you replicate that one, it will be bigger.
Yeah, and also then I was asked to make a comment rather than questioning. In that light, I was just thinking. Now you have brought in the bathtub curve thing. That's interesting. But I was looking at, because when you look at two of your components is reflective of the OEE, right? Yeah. So why haven't you explored in your literature on OEE? I would have been keen to know was there any particular reason that you have not touched OEE?
Actually, sir, in my big, my original thesis, it's there. But for this one, I don't include it because if you see my total thesis, like the big project, it's there because the efficiency improvement in the term of qualitative manner, not only the quantitative manner, because we have productivity, quality, and as well the efficiency as well.
Yeah.
So the third component is there. So I have such a way that I have done it. I have not gone to the lean side, sir. Because implementing that lean side is really complex, sir, because these machinery are 22 years old, and getting information like the qualitative information per machine, per day, per shift is really complex.
I see. Then the second observation is, now you have been there for some time, and the company was there also for longer time period.
Yes.
So in that context, why can't you have a predictive maintenance program?
Very true, sir, because starting from the last year, I mean, like starting from this financial year, whatever the new machineries that we are purchasing, we have incorporated all the sensors, flow meters, and everything. So we have developed a strategy, organizational strategy. Whatever the new machines that we are purchasing, we should have these parameters where we can lively monitor, as well as it should be matching to our ERP system.
Yeah.
So the problem is the older machines.
I see, fine. Out of the 5 machines, you said those are the critical ones, no?
Yeah.
What would be the RCM, reliability centered maintenance issue, critical machine that would have been jeopardized in the rest of the things?
That is the Stenta, sir. The Stenta number 3.
Right.
Because that is, of course, during, I mean, the last joint venture was a Chinese and Bendix joint venture. So the Chinese people have dumped their old machines to here. So that is a very truth, sir.
Yeah. So in your report, you have touched upon OEE, you have explored OEE in your literature, is it?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Okay. All the best, Egda.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Edgar.
Yeah.
Yes, Edgar, thank you so much for your nice presentation. And I wanted to know whether you have already implemented the project now.
Yes, sir. Yes, madam. I have implemented it. And of course, the target I have reduced to 1.6. For the last month, the data is 1.6.
Okay. Then I went through your report, sent the full paper, but it's not specific. That like in the presentation, I knew that you have already done and all the training schedule and all included in your presentation. But in the paper, it was not included, and I was thinking it was very vague, not specific.
Yeah. Yes, madam.
Then it's better if you are going to publish it. Better to exactly specifically mention what you have implemented. If you could have included all, it would be a good paper.
Right. Thank you, madam. Because the content only about 135 pages, but the rest of the
at least what is the method that you have applied should have been mentioned. Okay?
Yeah. Because these the training plans and everything I have attached as an annexures. So that's why it is not in the but I will do with it, madam.
Okay.
Thank
all
you.
the best for your presentation and for the project. Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Since the other presenter is coming from Oman, we have to wait another 2 minutes. Ms. Nadisha, can you hear us? Yeah, spotlight then. Good evening, Nadisha. Can you hear us?
Yes, sir, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes. You're
All right.
Okay, welcome to the PIMARC 2022 Management Field Research Project Track presentation. So we have just witnessed the second presentation. Now, your one is the first one, the reduction of the
Yes.
bonded nurse turnover at the DMS hospitals, Sri Lanka. We have a timekeeper here. So after 15 minutes, we'll give a sound so that
Yes.
I will make a notice on that. So then in 20 minutes, you need to wind up your presentation. So we have with us two panelists here, Dr. Ravi Bhamnusinghe and Professor Ashoka Malkanti here with us. So after your presentation, yeah, they would give their comments, and if there are any questions, they may ask that. So, Ms. Hemchandra, without taking much time, you can share the presentation. Please start.
Can my presentation be seen?
Please put it to the presentation mode.
Yes.
Still not in the presentation mode.
Yes, just shared. Okay, can it be seen?
Now it's fine. You may begin now.
All right. Yes. Thank you very much, Dr. Samantha, respected panel, and my fellow researchers. My name is Nadisha Hemachandra, and I did my MFRP in research in the reduction of the bonded nurse turnover at the NS Hospital, Sri Lanka. So I will be discussing the overview, the problem issues, the theoretical frameworks which were selected, the objectives, how it was implemented, what were the resources and budgets, the outcomes and the outputs, the skills gained, and the overall summary. Now, the project in which I had done my research on is based on one of the top 5 private hospitals. So this is one of the top 5 private hospitals in Sri Lanka. And in the hospital, there is the private nurse training school, which is the oldest in Sri Lanka. If you look at the company financials, they have a turnover of 5.9 billion as of the 2022 annual report. And they have over 75 years of providing responsive healthcare in the industry. Now, my main focus, like I told you, was on the nurses. So when you focus on the nursing cadre, there's one chief nursing officer under whom the managing nursing officer and senior nursing supervisors perform. And under them, they have the junior nursing sisters, the senior nursing sisters, and the new bonded nurses. So my focus was actually on the new bonded nurses that had joined the institution. As you can see, there were three main areas in which I had focused my study on. This was on how the new bonded nurses gave their focus on patient management and how the nurse training management was conducted for the new bonded nurses and the overall human resource management aspect. It was seen when it comes to the patient management, the biannual patient care violation by the bonded nurse should ideally be 0. The acceptable level was 1, as you can see over here. However, when you take past records, there was an average of 15, which is obviously not an acceptable rate. And moving on to the nurse training management, when it came to the general nursing care. So general nursing care would mean how well a nurse would administer his or her different care to the patients. So in the same way, it was seen that it should ideally be 0 or 1. But looking at the past records, there were close to 10 to 12 different violations being conducted. So there was definitely a performance gap seen over here. And moving on, it was also noted that there were low promotions of the bonded nurse candidate up the professional ladder in the organization. As you can see, there was a drastic drop in the total intakes and the total number of nurses whom they felt were competent enough to be promoted. So all of these three performance gaps were very well noted and discussed and taken into consideration in this project. So moving on, I used the Ishikawa, the fishbone analysis, to really understand where the root cause analysis to this was. So when it came to patient management, it was seen that there was lack of system procedure, there was a lack of safety net for the nurses. When I sat and I conducted interviews, they told, Miss, when we do some sort of mistake, we don't know the proper procedure. There's no one whom we can ask, and they're scared to ask. They genuinely broke down in front of me when I asked them. And inadequate funds for self-care. Then when it came to nurse training management, it was seen that their schedules were completely overburdened. You have to understand, I did this study during COVID-19 period. So there were separate nurses who were stationed just for COVID as well. And it was also seen that there was lack of upskilling opportunities and a lack of a standard curriculum, which they had to follow. And then on the human resource side, it was seen that when I went into the HR department and questioned them, there was inconsistent effort rewarding mechanism, which made it very ambiguous for these nurses to understand from point A to point B how they should go. And there was a lack of recruitment KPI system. How well are they performing in terms of recruiting new nurses into the system? And obviously the overall COVID-19 impact that was there. However, you must understand that this study was done from 2018 to 2020 over a period of 3 years. And it was a perennial issue. This was there even before the COVID time. So for my study moving forward, the COVID-19 impact was not considered. And the increase in bonded nursing turnover, it was seen that there were issues in patient management, nurse training management, and the human resource management. Moving on to the literature review, it was seen that especially when it came to the bonded nurse turnover in Sri Lanka, there was a massive paucity of information. Very little study was done to understand how the bonded nurse turnover and why the bonded nurse turnover was very high. It was also seen that there was a huge shortage of nurses. As you all very well know, a lot of nurses, they will either go into the government sector or the private sector nurses, they'll quickly get a qualification and then they will opt to migrate to another country. So it was seen that there was a shortage of 30,000 nurses annually in the country, 14,000 nurses island-wide. And a study by Lockhart. So a comparative study, which I did, especially a paper that I really enjoyed was Dr. Jayasekara. He is a senior midwife specialist in Australia, and he has done several studies over a period of 10 years. And he compares Sri Lankan nurses and the Australian nurses. And what he says is, if you have mentorship programs, if you have preceptor programs, you can see the reduction of nurses by 10% in just 2 years. So I wouldn't ponder further on given the time factor that we have, but it was clearly understood that our dependent variables were patient management, nurse training management, and human resource management, which all contributed to the bonded nurse turnover. Moving on, when it came to the main objective, when I sat and I discussed this with the upper management, we had to work towards reducing the bonded nurse turnover from the existing 5% to 2% within 12 months of implementing. So within 1 year time span, what was the realistic expectation that we can target with regard to this? So in terms of reducing patient management related issues from 50% of the violation to 10%, we reduced, and the technique which we were going to use is having a patient care guideline and a patient care compliance checklist. I will explain more on that in the following slides. When it comes to nurse training management, to reduce the procedural violations from 60% to 10% in 1 year. So it was the same as the patient care. Only thing is, this is the general nurse care compliance and also remodeling the nursing skill assessment. Finally, in the human resource department, there was a requirement to make sure that existing bonded nurses were able to upskill themselves and also put themselves in a competent position to be promoted. So from the present level of 50% to 90%, having consistent nursing leadership programs and reevaluating their effort reward assessment matrix was taken into consideration. Now, as you can see onto your left-hand side, this was the team structure that was there. And so with the senior management team, I came into the project as an external consultant. I didn't work there, but I came in as an external consultant. And these were the other departments which I liaise with on a day-to-day and weekly basis. And from here, it was seen that so the simplifying explanations on existing patient care procedures were very important, because when I went and spoke to these nursing girls, that they're very young, they told, Miss, the thing is, we know what to do. We are reading, but we don't understand. And we are very afraid to ask CNO madam, which was the senior nursing officer. So it was understood that complex English, big books, fancy lettering were not really helping nurses to actually perform their jobs the way they should. So simplifying it was very important, and maintaining a patient care compliance checklist was important. And on the nurse training side, similarly, their compliance checklist and remodeling existing skill assessment. This was done speaking to senior nursing professionals and doctors as well, to see how well the existing system can be remodeled so that the nurses are trained and become more competent from their existing level. And obviously conducting nurse leadership programs and developing a suitable effort reward assessment matrix. Now, as you can see, this is the book on the left-hand side, Patient Care Guideline for Nurse Practitioners. So it's written by Axel Ahuli, Glenn Picard. It's very internationally standard. It's a really good book. I've read through it, but the English in it was so complex that if you actually see, because even the questionnaires that I kept with the nursing girls, they told, "Ane Miss Puluwan nang meka Sinhaleng denna." So the thing is, they were more comfortable answering that questionnaire in Sinhala. So we translated this book into something much more simpler, and even the patient safety compliance, also we changed it into a version that was much more comfortable for them to adjust. And the general nursing care was done in a similar pattern. So what will happen now is there will be an availability of an SOP document. Internal training will be given to the bonded nurse, evaluating the senior nursing staff. The managing nursing officer will evaluate this nursing staff, and he will review the bonded nurse and the performance against the HR and the senior management team. So these were samples of the training proposals that were given and different proposed areas in which the nurses will be evaluated. And based on, so currently the existing system was based on a very qualitative manner. So therefore there was no pinpointing as to where exactly this nurse had to develop. So what we did was we translated this into an assessment matrix where they could actually be evaluated against a rating scale and a score. This for me personally was a huge highlight because they told that no one had actually come up with this idea to turn something qualitative into quantitative. So it was a huge, personally for me as a management student, this was a huge joy. And apart from that, this was the summary of solutions. And the main objective was to make sure that the nurse, the bonded nurse was loyal. She or he wasn't going to leave within their 8-year bonded period. And the fact that they had to be competent. So that was our overarching, that was the main reason why this project was so important for this hospital. And when it came to patient care, it was very important that they had better communication skills. There was more work done in understanding why I'm making this mistake, what I should do to make sure that that mistake is not reflected badly upon the nurse. And obviously, one of the main areas was that the nurse was very fatigued. She was always tired. And because of that, the chances of errors were more. So then there were more interventions done with the housing warden, where the girls would stay in their hostel, speaking to them, really going into the grassroots level of making sure that their food was also given in the right manner. So, and making sure when it comes to the nurse training program, making sure that the senior nurses themselves were well competent and upskilled to make sure that the bonded nurses were trained properly. And on a human resource level, in the feedback that they got, so this hospital already had a very good customer care review system. But to get the feedback specifically on their bonded nurses was what they changed the system to do. And in the end, having better clarity, motivation, having follow-up meetings, sitting, talking, discussing, and having really good communication platforms and channels and proper paperwork in place to help the trainee nurse, the bonded nurse, to climb up the pipeline was all put into a proper system at the end of this project. Looking at the cost benefit analysis, so in order to create the patient care compliance list, it was already an existing document. We just had to change it. And we saw there was a bit of cost when it came to leadership programs, but the total cost was only 3,60,000. However, if you look at the cost that it took in case a nurse had left, the mistakes, rectification costs and external training costs, all of that, and the productivity increase rates and increase in profits, because people would want to go into and like put yourself in the shoes. Wouldn't you like to go to a hospital if there was a very competent nurse behind it? So all of this came to a cost of 2 million, which showed that there was 5.6 times the benefit for this project to be taken on board. And finally, the recommendations which were put into place was patient management, making sure there's continuous improvement, nurse training, making sure that the general biasnesses, nepotism that exists within the system is no longer there, and everything is based on a certain evaluation and on proper criteria. And in the human resource department, making sure that the existing nurses are empowered and they are the brand ambassadors that will show other nurses outside.
Just 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Okay. And so overall, in terms of the management of this project, I think the real challenge that I faced with this was I was literally walking myself into a death trap at one point. Imagine taking an MFRP project this challenging at a hospital, right there in the heart of COVID. So managing this was a huge task on my hand. There were online meetings, there were physical meetings. There were some days where even I had to quarantine just to make sure that, gathering physical evidences and all of these things happen. It was very difficult to get information out from them because I remember the HR leader saying, we have already buried this problem. Why are you trying to pull it out? But then explaining to them the long-term repercussions of this, as a student in management, getting them on board, everyone on board was something that I found very challenging, but at the same time, very fulfilling at the end. And these were the different conceptual, interpersonal, and technical skills which I gained. I started off as an MBA student, but I ended as a student with a lot more knowledge in nursing management and nursing care as well. And that wraps up my MFRP project. And if there are any questions, I would be willing to take it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Hemachandra, for your wonderful presentation. I think it's a very sensitive area in terms of the industry is concerned. This turnover, the nurse turnover is a very challenging area. So let's see what the panelists are allowed to say or ask about that. Dr. Bhavan Singh? Professor, yeah.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, I can hear you.
Okay, can you?
Yes.
I want to ask, thank you for your nice presentation. Why do you think, Nadisha, these are the causes for turnover? Because I didn't see any evidence you to prove that these are the real causes for turnover. There may be many problems in the hospital, okay, affecting the nurses. Why do you think these are the root causes for the turnover?
The first thing I did, ma'am, was when I went into the organization, we sat down and had a 3-hour-long interview. I actually have the transcript of that as well with the chief nursing officer. Because what the chief nursing officer mentioned, and one thing I understood is between the nursing officer and the senior management, there was a disparity. Senior management had a very strategic outlook as to what the problem was, but the chief nursing officer explained point blank that these were the reasons, because the chief nursing officer is the one who is directly having the bonded nurses under her, right? So when she told that their basic necessities and the fact that they've been overworked and asking why, these issues came up from the chief nursing officer. Now, how do I prove that the chief nursing officer, what she says is right? I went and I did the same assessment with the bonded nurses themselves. But I did not discuss what was already discussed with the chief nursing officer. And when I gave that list of questionnaires, there was a massive overlap. That means what the chief nursing officer told in terms of the inadequacies of the nurses, and the nurses themselves telling these things are not provided for us, these things are what is constrained to us. There was a very good match. So then that gave me the prerogative to understand that these were the real root causes for the issue.
Okay, and you have not discussed the current situation as an example training. Then you didn't explain anything about the current training to show that there is a lack of training. Okay, you propose training that we don't know what is the current level of training, whether it's adequate or not, or the problem may be with the content. We don't know the number of training. Like that current situation, you should analyze before proposing something new. Okay.
Yes, Miss, the thing is, I do have the current violations and what they had committed taken off from the records of the chief nursing officers and managing nursing officers. That is actually in an appendix. I haven't reflected it on the presentation per se. So that has the history of them committing these violations.
Okay, then why you selected only new bonded nurses? Because there are so many other responsible persons in your chart. Then what is the special reason for selecting these bonded nurses?
To be honest, they were the only ones who were willing to cooperate. You see, with senior nurses, it was very difficult. As you go along the seniority, they are not in a position to tell we have a problem. So the thing is with the junior nurses, even because they themselves are new, they are just coming out from nurse training institute and straight getting absorbed into the organization. So it was in a way for the chief nursing officer, it was in a way having an external person like me, evaluating the way in which these nurses were performing was a help for them. And also new nurses, it was easier to work with them, get their feedbacks, real feedbacks from them. Whereas as and when I went up the seniority, I found that there was a certain level of annoyance increasing as when I questioned them.
Okay, thank you, Nandisha. Then Dr. Bamsi.
Nadisha, what you are talking is a very pertinent issue. I am basing my observations based on the abstract sentence what you presented. So,
Yes.
if you are intending to publish this work, I hope you could consider what I'm going to tell you. First thing is,
Yes,
you
sir.
need to establish who a bonded nurse is as compared to senior and junior, because others may not have a clear idea what a bonded nurse is. Then the other thing is, now in your topic and the objective, you are talking about staff turnover. The nurse turnover is you are talking about. But in your problem description, your description is relatively focused on the staff nurse violations, right? So I think you need to have a clarity there, because you open the mind of the reader or the audience on the staff turnover, then suddenly you draw your attention to the nurse violations, right? So in that light, then I think there's a bit of a confusion. I think you need to remove that confusion in the eyes of the reader. Then also, one of your component you are talking about, again, the patient management with regard to reduction of violations. So there also you need to see how it is to be correlated to the reduction of attrition of nurses. So if that correlation, I don't see that clarity is there at that level, right? So I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Now, if some kind of correlation, there must be some reason for you to
which adds up to them to, yeah.
Yes, exactly. I don't see that in the visible sense, the way limited knowledge that I have. Then thirdly,
Correct.
I would suggest that you need to spend a lot more time on the literature exploration, because we didn't see, in my case, I didn't see that to adequately, maybe this is because of abstract or whatever, I didn't see that exploration adequately. Otherwise, it is a very good project. I think you can really do wonders with this project in time to come. All the best.
Thank you, sir. And if you want, sir, I would be very happy to share the literature review. I was very proud. It was 20 pages long. So I would love to share that original document with you, which I had written on this. So we'll do that also. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir and madam, for this opportunity, and all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hemachandra. Thank you very much for those insightful presentation. And of course, you can keep on this good work continuing. All the best once again.
Thank you, sir.
Well, so ladies and gentlemen, so I have a dual task as a track chair here of now completing the first part means we can give away the certificates to the participants. So Ms. Hemachandra's one, of course, the conference secretary would take action. So I had like procedures to inform her how to collect her certificate, but we can hand over the other presenter here. So may I invite Dr. Senil Kalungamge, Director, to come forward, please. So may I invite Edgar Millen to come forward and take your certificate. Also, thank you. So it's time for us to show our gratitude to the two panel members here. So may I invite Professor Asoka Malkanti to accept the small token of appreciation from the Director PIM. May I invite Dr. Ravi Bamsing also to come forward and accept this token of appreciation. Yes. So may I invite the two panelists and the presenter to come forward and have a group photograph with us. Come. So with that, we are going to start the management case study and research project presentation. May I kindly invite Professor Dinesh Samrasinghe to come forward, and also Professor V. Sival Lovithasan to come forward. Thank you. Since two of you are in the audience and you are familiar with the setup, may I tell on behalf of the once again director and the co-chairs of PIMARC 2022, let me warmly welcome two of you for this panel contribution. Also, may I recognize the presence of the director and the other members in the audience. Also, our colleagues from IT division, Mr. Prabhas and Mr. Sawan are there to support us, and Mr. Rajita is there to facilitate. And our timekeeper is Ms. Hasini. So that still the name is not familiar. Sorry for that. And there are two presenters here, Ms. RMC Priyadarshini and Mr. T. Chalita. I hope their presentations are ready. Right. So then you have 20 minutes. After 15 minutes, you would indicate the time, and then in 20 minutes, you need to conclude your presentation. So these management case studies are coming under broadly under PIM social research cluster, management research project, which is in another track. So this is a case study where they take a company with their permission. They would use a kind of a semi-positivist approach and go to the company, get a timeline developed, and heavily study on qualitative approach of research, and study finally see whether the company is showcasing such a say outcome in like last selected 5, 6 or 10 years or so. So that we have selected two case studies here. So let me invite Ms. RMC Priyadarshini to present a case on sustained performance through entrepreneurial leadership, the Rajarata Hotel Limited, that case study. Over to you, Ms. Priyadarshini.
Good afternoon, my dear session chairs and the audience. This is my research case study research project, Sustained Performance to Entrepreneurial Leadership, the story of the Rajarata Hotels Limited. I'm Chaturika Priyadarshini, and this is my case study. This is the content that I'm going to explain today. Company background, theme of the case study, literature review, case framework, data collection methodology, timeline, data analysis and findings, conclusion, case study questions. Moving on to next slide, I will explain what is the company background. Actually, this is started mainly 1970. The current management's grandfather, who has established in at the very beginning time, and it has incorporated in 1974. And after that, the current management has taken over that Rajarata Hotel in 2013. They have refurbished under this current level. And still, as we all know, Anuradhapura city is very historical historical background. In that sense, they equip with the modern amenities and the facilities to the hotel. And they have started this Rajat Hotel with the 25 employees. Now it has increased to 78 up to now. Moving into the theme of the case study, case theme is the sustained performance through entrepreneurial leadership. And when it comes to the case objectives, this is I have taken 5 years time to explain it. It's from 2015 to 2020. This is to explain how Rajata Hotels Limited was achieve the sustained performance. To achieve that sustained performance, entrepreneurial leadership has played vital role. And also to support this sustained performance, entrepreneurship and the value creation and the other parties, people management have support very much. And when it comes to scope, it is a sustained performance. Unit of the case study is the Rajata Hotels and Limited. And that period we have taken 2015 to 2019. When it comes to its significance, Rajata Hotel is one of the oldest hotels in Anuradhapura. And so the Rajata Hotels is one of the hotels which is located at the main historical area. This is the theoretical underpinning which I have researched. I have done researchers by using existing theories and school of theories and all that. I have identified there are 4. We have taken 4 main drivers, which is sustained performance and the entrepreneurial leadership. The other one is the value creation, and the other one is the people management. Under each key drivers, there are many key attributors. When it comes to sustained performance is one of the key drivers. It says, though there are many fluctuating at this time, the any company is able to perform sustainably. And when it sustained performance, under sustained performance, there are 3 key attributors: organizational volume, revenue factor, employee attraction. When it comes to the entrepreneurial leadership, entrepreneurs always, the researchers said that they have ability to skill, identify, make opportunities in order to produce more results. Under entrepreneurial leadership key driver, there are key attributors mentioned: financial risk, managing innovation, small business management, risk taking in the proactive initiative. The next key driver is the value creation. This is adding competitive advantage according to the research. Under the main key driver value creation, key 3 attributors: best competition, value to the customer, differentiation, the value addition. The final, people management. This is all about all about talking about the people engagement. And under the key driver, key attributors are strategic movement and the employee performance and the relationship between HR and practices. When it comes to case framework, I have identified 3 key attributors, 3 key drivers, which is entrepreneurial leadership, value creation, and the people management, which supports to the sustained performance, that is the outcome. And the moderating factor is a macroeconomic factor in hospitality. This is the data collection methodology. I have used 10 in-depth interviews with them and 6 focus group interview, and I have used the secondary sources versus and the primary sources. On the primary resources, I have done interview and the 6 focus group discussion. I have used company documents, financial statement, market research reports, newspapers, video, websites, and all that. I have interviewed managing director, HR manager, accountant, executive chief, assistant engineer maintenance, F&B manager, front office executive, relationship manager, residence manager, and the marketing manager. And when it comes to focus group discussion, the discussion with the operation maintenance, relationship, and the marketing, HR admin, F&B team. This is the timeline I have prepared by gathering the information. You can see the line which shows the occupancy ratio. Okay. This is the line which shows the occupancy ratio. Only the 2019 and 2020, the occupancy ratio has come down because of the, as we all know, COVID and the some Easter about hit the hotel industry. And this is the profit line profit ratio. Though there is a in 2019, 2020, there is COVID and the Easter attack hits, the profit not goes down. And the mentioned in blue color stars, which demonstrating entrepreneurial leadership performance, which factors I have gathered, it shows under blue color star. And the creating value, creating value aspects which is shown under orange color star. And the executing the people management strategies, I have mentioned those key elements in blue color stars. And when it comes to the mentioned below in the timeline. Also, what I would like to say, this is the data analysis that the findings from this research. Organization, as I said before, under sustained performance, there are three key attributes: organization value, revenue factor, and employee attraction. Organization value, when I had with the discussion with the managing director is Mr. Kanchan Disanaika. He's an engineer in profession, and I have met him like 5 to 6 times. I had a chat with him, and I met him like about 3 times. And we had even there was a COVID period. We had the chat with the Zoom platform also, and I have gathered this information on the organization value. The data analysis, the document shows it has increased from 74 to 79 from 2015 to 2019 period in time. And they to get 100 goals in that period, especially in 2016 after they have taken over under new management. That means after 2013. Revenue factor, they have allocated more budget to the social media because they have identified social media is one of the critical aspects in terms of the marketing. So they have allocated more budget into the social media advertising. And so also they have increased their revenue from 2015 to 2019. When it comes to employee attraction, they are able to increase their employee from 25 to 78 within that period that it says they are able to increase their employee count. And the entrepreneurial leadership, under entrepreneurial leadership, there were 5 key attributes: financial risk. When it comes to financial risk, they started this hotel with the with borrowing the loans. But time to time, step by step, they are able to earn money with the profit. So they are able to they're able to manage their loans and able to get more profit. So managing innovation, as I said, he is a profession, he is a engineering profession. So he used his knowledge. So he has built single sewage treatment plant in the hotel. And when it comes to small business management, they have won the provincial award in 2018. Taking in 2013 to 2015, they covered the risk and they built 100 rooms. That because as we know, entrepreneurs are always like to take the risk. So he was taking that risk and he has built 100 rooms in 2016. According to proactive initiative, 2013, he has refurbished the hotel and 100 rooms. They have digitalized the system. They have their own website, and we can put the online what do you call the reservation, and they have only occupied for the 200 rooms. And the valuation in this condition, as we all know, there are many the first time they couldn't match their prices with other competitors, so they lost the market itself. So when we change their pricing strategy, then they are able to reduce and compete with the pricing strategy. And when the customer, they won the ISO, they received the ISO 2020 certificate to assure the product food safety. Differentiated production. There was a huge gap between the employee. So they have these skills and knowledge. So they recruited the relationship manager, and when it comes to people management, strategic guidance, they establish the customer care unit. Also, when it comes to last term, relationship with HR, 2016. This is the conclusion. Rajarata Hotels is able to achieve sustained performance throughout the period that I have selected 2015 to 2020. And the success of Rajarata Hotel significantly influenced what I was found out. It was directly because of the entrepreneurial leadership, and the sustained performance was driven by the entrepreneurial leadership, creating and the management. This is the case study question. Explain how Rajarata Hotels was able to achieve sustained performance through the 2015. This question can take future researchers by taking this hotel. And the second is explain how the execution of entrepreneurship supported Rajarata Hotel Center to achieve sustained performance in contrast of the execution of the traditional leadership concept, because he is actually the entrepreneurial leadership. So what is the difference between entrepreneurial leadership versus traditional leadership? And the third point is to discuss how Rajarata Hotels created value within the competitive higher hotel industry to offer enhanced value to the customer. As I found out, more vigilance, the system, that this is one of the key areas which we can search further. And what lesson can others hotels learn from Rajawata Hotels Limited? Within a shorter period, they achieve their sustained performance. I think this is one of the key questions that they can research further. That is all about Rajawata Hotels. Thank you very much, sir.
Right. So in the case study option, generally taking a qualitative lens and describing the scenario and relating a case into a context is not an easy task. So let's see that the two veteran panelists like what they have to say. So may I invite Professor first?
Yeah. First of all, congratulations, and they are doing nice case studies. Case study is not an easy way to do a case study. And thank you very much, and all the best. And so you mentioned the case study very interesting. Yeah, you're showing that the improvement and changes in the history. And so but you selected the period.
Yeah.
Why you select the period not mentioned, or that is again then, because when you're taking case studies, and so the case studies is mentioned on this period also, but when you're taking case studies and you had the history, which is although started to then end, and the organization have impact, the experience values they are for anyway that cases. So that is not highlighted here. We also started from 1970 and then up to now. So what is the leadership style? What is the entrepreneurial contribution there? How they up to now they are established and survive. And then you are starting with the sustainable performance and the entrepreneurial leadership thing. So my question is, in literature review, you identify this sustainable performance and also on the entrepreneurial leaderships and the organizational values and the value creation and the people management. But my only concern, why you select the period 15 to 19. One thing. And also how you, in a conclusion, you concluded that the difference in traditional leadership and the entrepreneurial leadership. So without touching in the previous traditional leadership period, how you can conclude that the traditional leadership contribution and the entrepreneurial leadership contribution. That's the main. Thank you.
Okay. Shall I answer the question? Okay. What I selected, it was because firstly, I have gone through the documents and financial records on through that period from 2015 to 2020. I could able to identify there's a sustained growth other than the other periods. Though it started in 1974, that is a grandfather of the current MD, and it drastically when I looked at the pictures, all pictures, it has closed. Actually, and 2013 he has taken over, and 2013 he tried to reestablish this hotel, and from 2013 to 2015 they had struggling period, but 2015 onwards they had a sustained growth period. And the other one is traditional leadership versus entrepreneurial leadership. Yes. I'm very agree, sir. I was not mentioned the traditional leadership, but when I go through his grandfather's era, he was typically very traditional leader. But when he has taken over this company, this what do you call it, a hotel, and when I was talking with his staff, actually, trying to always engage the team, and he was taking his idea into his strategy, and he always and he appreciates others' ideas as well, and he much more like to taking risk. Actually, he want to take much risk, and when he looks at the opportunity, he won't do the implementation. That's why I identified he as a entrepreneurial leader.
Yeah, I told that. Thank you. What I'm saying, that in small family business, in history in the world, sustaining the long time also sustainable. So from 77, see, even at least keeping the brand name is also sustainable, because in a family business histories, maybe the leaders change and the is changing, maybe the displays and things and clothes is cleared up, but keeping up to now is also sustainable. That's my question. So you have to take up the value, some grand value is still survival. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Ms. Priyadarshini. I think very positive topic case you have selected. I appreciate that. Sometimes some people start with the problems, but you identify success case. You are looking for some of the key success factors.
Yeah.
And I have few clarifications. One thing is about why you narrow down into entrepreneurial leadership, value creation, and people management. Now, there can be so many factors that affect the business effectiveness. Now, you are looking at the broad area is the performance or the effectiveness.
Yeah.
But you have selected some of the independent variables, conceptualize using these three variables which affect. Any specific reasons that guided you when you observe the particular scenario? In the literature, you can find so many factors that affect the success. Anything that led you to decide these three at the maybe preliminary interviews, observations, or anything you made?
Thank you for the question, sir. Actually, what I have selected research was very related to that particular area, and that is the one case. And when I had a chat with Rajagata Hotels Limited, I was able to identify this kind of success they have. And when I went through the researchers, and at a glance, I was able to find out these kind of attributors and the key drivers directly impact to the sustained performance. That's why I have selected those three key drivers.
I think I like, I haven't seen your full report, where you can give some justification why you narrowed down, rather than you saying you like these things. You can bring some evidence from the case study from the company, whereby some indicators, KPIs, you can identify, maybe these can be some some factors that link to leadership, something like that. Storytelling, I think I like to see this one from the storytelling perspective.
Yes, from my fourth chapter, it's in narration part, because when I was had a discussion with them, I have found out they specifically the idea is more related to the entrepreneurship. It's like, as I said, there was a single savage plant was there, so plant is there. So that is more into the value creation and people management. He is very positive and energetic person who is like to be with the people and who appreciate the people value. So that's I have mentioned in my fourth chapter as well when I writing my case study reports.
Okay, now you talk about value creation, but I like to see not only value creation. Now you talk about value creation everywhere, but value capturing is also very critical. Perhaps maybe your target market, you create value, but the target audience, maybe maybe your visitors or the customers, they cannot capture the value. I think that part also, if you can maybe perhaps in your data, that might be there. If you can dig into data and see what about the value capturing also, perhaps this success can be not only value creation, value capturing also may be good. They have selected the right target market, therefore they capture easily your value. I don't know whether you can dig into that one and see that also as a value capturing also as a part of maybe value creation and leading to that. I don't know whether you can dig into that.
Actually.
Those are some of the comments. I think you can't, like a thesis, you can't do the analysis. This is sort of a project, no? Therefore, I am really happy and do some observations also. Now, you just had interviews.
Yes.
But if you can have some time to have some maybe observations there to understand their culture, shared values. I don't know whether you have some.
I had, sir, 2 times I went there, and before I had the discussion with them, I observed how they engage with each other, engage with the MD and all the other management. So I had some sort of, that's why I told you, sir, because he is very engaged with the people. That is very prominent aspect which I have identified that what is
You interviewed only management and the leader.
management and the leader, but I have done the discussion with their teams.
Teams.
Yes,
Uh,
operation team.
Employees, customers, any interaction with them have you had?
Actually, not with the customer, but with the teams.
Teams. But
Yes.
at least now you are talking about the value capturing and value creation also. The customer perspective is also there.
Yeah.
But if you can talk to maybe front office people or the customer contact people, you can see their voice also. I don't know whether you have it. Some narrations, if you can bring from that also, I think then your finding is more perfect, I think, analysis. Those are some of the comments. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Doctor.
Right. So thank you, Mr. Priyasani. I think as 2 panelists said that compiling a case is not an easy task, but you have taken that task. And of course, since we have completed now, it's high time for us to go and visit the place and see how the leadership is and the customer value and the value creation is taking place. Huh? So, right. Thank you very much. All the best. So with that, may I invite the last presenter, Mr. T. Chalitha. He's going to talk about continuous growth through entrepreneurial leadership, the success story of SMS Holdings. Over to you, Mr. Chalitha.
Good evening. Am I audible? Hello. Good evening to everyone. I'm very much privileged to stand here. Thanks to Dr. Samantha, my immediate supervisor, and all the supervisors who helped me out throughout this project, and thanks to PIM faculty as well. So once the greatest entrepreneur Steve Jobs mentioned that people with passion can change the world for better. So today I am here to present the case of SMS Holding, which I carried out to fulfill my Master of Business Administration at PIM. Before getting into details, I would like to dig into a bit on the interlocking paving industry, because SMS Holding is basically are the pioneers in interlocking paving in Sri Lanka. So getting into the case study information. So these are the this is the flow that I'm going through. First, I will talk about the company background, then the theme of the case study, literature review, case framework, data collection methodology, timeline, data analysis, conclusion, and so far so on. So like I said before, interlocking paving was not that much popular in the early 90s. Because it was basically treated as a luxury product, and the monopolistic market condition which was prevailed during that era was didn't allow many of the customers to purchase this product. But with the presence of SMS Holding, with the establishment of SMS Holding, this product was available for any of the community, any of the people in the society. So this is the company background. As I mentioned before, established in 2001 by the so-called renowned entrepreneur, Mr. Shehan Seniviratna. And they started at a very lower phase. At the inception point, they had only one brick making machine, which is fully manually operated. And then they had only 8 employees, and the total investment was 1,50,000 rupees. So as of now, after 2 decades of operation, they have become the number one, the industry leader, and they are possessing over 60% market share. And their production capacity is much more higher than any player in the industry. Per day, they are producing 1 lakh units of interlocking paving in all categories. And moreover, the company has been established basically on the 3 hallmarks of customer care, value, and quality. And of course, the main driving factor has been the leadership, the entrepreneurial leadership, which I am going to dig into more as I go forward. And they have been the most innovative company when it comes to interlocking paving in Sri Lanka. So I have shown few of the innovations that they have come up with. Grass paver, timber deck, and so far so on. And they are the first company who received the SLS standards for interlocking paving in Sri Lanka. So moving forward, as I mentioned, the case theme is articulated around the achievement of continuous growth through entrepreneurial leadership. And the case study objectives are threefold. To investigate how the entrepreneurial leadership been role played in achieving the continuous growth at SMS Holdings, and thereafter to study how SMS Holding been able to achieve continuous growth during the period of concern. I consider the period of 10 years, starting from 2010 to 2020. And finally, to explore how continuous growth, which is the outcome, been relatively influenced by the key identified drivers, which are none other than entrepreneurial leadership, market orientation, and operational excellence. So the scope is limited to the SMS Holding, the company and its performance, and the key drivers and the outcome. So the significance of this case is I have tried to unearth the relationship that exists between the entrepreneurial leadership and the continuous growth. So moving forwards, a literature review, literature survey has been conducted by me, a comprehensive one. I have referred to 209 journal articles, out of which 13 A grade A plus articles, and so far so on. So in literature, after conducting the literature review, I have found out that there are 3 key drivers that can be used to identify the to support the company background information. So in that case, I figured out entrepreneurial leadership to be the main driving factor, which influence the continuous growth significantly, and market orientation, as well as operational excellence. So entrepreneurial leadership is all about it's all about taking risk, exploiting opportunities, identifying opportunities, then being visionary, and encouraging teamwork and employee creativity, and so far so on. So it is more of a effective combination of risk-taking, reactiveness, as well as innovation. So in that case, under entrepreneurial leadership driver, I found out there are 5 major attributes that can be highlighted. So there I found opportunity recognition and exploitation, risk-taking, visioning, then as well as innovation focus, and encouraging employee creativity and performance. So in opportunity recognition, I have found out it's basically the available business ideas that can be further developed into a quality product or service. That is known as opportunity. So, and then innovation focus is the lifeblood. The innovation is the lifeblood of any organization or survival. So in this case also innovation takes a significant role, as well as the visioning. Visioning is the cornerstone of the entrepreneurial architecture. So that is also a significant factor, as well as risk taking. It's an inherent attribute of entrepreneurial leadership. Risk taking is quite evident throughout the role of any entrepreneur, and they are into taking calculated risk rather than any other risk. And I missed to mention about the outcome as well. So the continuous growth outcome includes certain key attributes like revenue growth, production and capacity growth, and employee growth. Revenue growth can be evident throughout the undisturbed revenue increment, and as well as production and capacity growth also is quite evident, whereas employee growth also there is a continuous growth in employment throughout this time concern. So then market orientation is the second key driver that I found significant in arriving at the final outcome. So market orientation, it's all about successfully gathering information and dissemination those information throughout the organization, both horizontally and vertically, to take certain strategic decision. And based on that decision, they can satisfy customer needs better than competitors do. So in that case, I have found out three key attributes that are fallen under market orientation, which are customer orientation, competitor orientation, and finally market intelligence and interfunctional coordination. So customer orientation is basically being customer centric and keeping the customer interest, needs, and wants at the topmost position of the organization. And then competitor orientation is all about monitoring the major competitors' tactical movements and strategic intentions. So, and finally, the market intelligence and interfunctional coordination are quite important when it comes to the implementation of market orientation. So, without functional rapport, without good collaboration within the organization, market intelligence market orientation would not be possible. So, then finally, the operational excellence, the final driving factor, which will influence the outcome. So operational excellence is nothing else but the achieving of world-class performance by doing things better, cheaper, and faster. So in that case, it is basically about delivering a better quality service product and better quality products and service, basically. So then there I have identified three key attributes, that is leanness and agility, quality management and continuous improvement, and finally operational efficiency. So these are the three attributes that I found relevant to the operational excellence aspect. And leanness and agility is quite present in the operational excellence, being cost effective and when it comes to leanness, it's all about reducing all type of waste. And agility is all about doing things faster. And thereafter, the quality management is advised when it comes to large scale operations. So, and continuous improvement also much more important in the context of operational excellence. So this is the case framework which I built based on the conducted literature survey. So on your left hand side, the independent variables are there, demonstrating entrepreneurial leadership, then practicing market orientation, then maintaining operational excellence. So the final outcome, the dependent variable, is of course the continuous growth. So these factors has influence the final outcome. And as all we know, no business can be function in isolation. So the moderating factor which is coming from the external environment, that is none other than government policy changes and shortage of skilled labor, has been moderating the interaction that exists between the dependent and independent variable. So data collection methodology, it's basically twofold. Data sources are secondary sources and primary data sources. So since this is a qualitative study, primary sources are basically again twofold: in-depth interviews and focus group interviews. So I conducted 10 in-depth interviews. I basically interviewed the CEO of the company and thereafter 9 functional heads. And for focus group interviews also I conducted with few of the selected departments: production, research and development, administration, and so far so on. And when it comes to secondary data gathering, I use company financial reports and their websites information, as well as magazines and newspaper articles as well, to gather all those information. And moving to the timeline of the when it comes to a timeline, the red color line shows the continuous revenue increment. And if I explain from the beginning, the horizontal, okay, got it. Thank you. This is the revenue line, which is depicting in red color. So as you can see, it is clearly visible that there is a continuous growth in the revenue. So the vertical axis shows the company revenue in terms of millions. It is shown, and the horizontal axis represent the years. And here I have shown a period of 10 years from 2001 to 2010. Since I cannot skip the establishment year, I put it in shorter way and put the average revenue. And there was certain significant event taking place in during that era as well. So from 2010 to 2020, I have shown the gradual production unit increment in terms of millions. And at the bottom part, I have shown the employee increment as well. So starting at the beginning, so inception take place in the year 2001, and I will pick certain significant milestone which took place throughout this period. They have invented certain innovative products, and in the year 2016, the chairman was awarded with the most pinnacle award for entrepreneurship, that is Sri Lankan Entrepreneur of the Year, and it moves on like that. So, and data analysis and findings, basically the continuous growth has been quite evident in terms of undisturbed revenue increment and production increment. They have been like showing 20 to 25% revenue increment, and they have started their revenue from 200 million. Now they have reached almost 1 billion revenue. So per annum. So, and they are producing more than 1 lakh unit of interlocking paving in all categories, where they started it at 1,000 units. So that is evident there has been a continuous growth. And entrepreneurial leadership aspects, when it comes to the opportunity recognition aspect, the chairman of the company and their followers has been able to identify right business opportunities, and basically through that they have undertaken a lot of they have successfully completed a lot of civil projects, including giant projects like Colombo Port City, and etc. And risk taking is quite evident, whereas the chairman has taken enough risks by investing his all saving at the beginning. That was 1,50,000 rupees, and now also he's investing much more on new technology adoption and expansion in their factory premises. And so far so on, and visioning the achievement, the greatest achievements, winning the Sri Lankan Entrepreneur Award is the great example for his vision. And when it comes to market orientation, they have been providing a very customized product, and they as the pioneers in interlocking paving. They have been able to provide a very flexible service, and they have undertaken A to Z operation, A to Z service delivery when it comes to interlocking paving, right from the landscaping up until to the final delivery. They have been the best. So, and of course, they own in more than 60% market share. And their sales force and their information, they are monitoring customer feedback, so they have a rich source of market intelligence as well. So when it comes to operational excellence, the systematic process that they have adopted in increasing their efficiency is tremendous, where they have adopted a lot of automations and semi-automated machineries, which are quite sophisticated at the industry. So, and when it comes to the lean management and agile manufacturing, they have established waste crusher plant in their factory premises, through which they can recycle 95% of their waste, and basically they are manufacturing fabricated sands, which is an inherent component of making interlocking paving. So those are the major things, as well as they have implemented agile manufacturing through the adaptation of PLC systems. PLC stands for programmable logical controllers. They are the sophisticated machines at today in interlocking paving industry. So in conclusion, it is evident that SMS Holding has achieved continuous growth throughout the period of 2010 to 2020, being the number one and the largest manufacturer in landscaping and interlocking paving. So, and the final outcome of continuous growth and the ultimate success of the company have been greatly influenced by the entrepreneurial leadership attribute of the chairman, and the continuous growth has been relatively influenced by the key drivers of aforementioned entrepreneurial leadership, then market orientation and operational excellence. So in conclusion, I have set 4 case study questions. So the first question is about what are the most predominant entrepreneurial leadership attributes that have been highlighted by the role of MD. And then the second one is
your time is up. You can very briefly touch upon the word.
Okay. In the second question, I have asked to elaborate on how SMS Holding was able to secure continuous growth, and third one is how could the market orientation approach of SMS Holdings influence the final outcome, and finally explain how important was maintaining operational excellence in the way to achieve the continuous growth. So this is my presentation. Thank you very much for listening. And
any more slides?
No, this is the final slide. Sorry.
Okay.
It is good. Okay.
Right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Since time has gone, starts it. Professor Dinesh, would like.
Thank you, Chalita. I think very interesting study. You talk about 3 things together, right?
Yeah.
If I mention, you talk about market orientation, which is sort of we call exploitative perspective. You
Yeah.
are trying to exploit from
Yes.
the external environment, right?
Exactly.
And also you're having explorative perspective. You talk about entrepreneurial leader.
Yeah.
At the same time, you are trying to talk about operational excellence.
Yeah.
Within the organization, we call technocracy.
Yeah.
My question is whether these three things can exist together. Like maybe, but sometimes you have to sacrifice something. You have to be excel at something different. Something, not everything together.
Yeah.
That is one question I have. But you give some evidence.
Yeah.
But any clarification about these three things together you see?
Yeah, I see throughout my observation, I see these three things together, but the caliber, the more weight is to the entrepreneurial leadership aspect. So that's why I put it at the topmost position, whereas the market orientation is at the second stage, second phase, and the final phase, so the operational excellence. So yeah, it could exist, but the weight is different.
But I like if you can highlight that one, that significance. This can be more impactful, something like if you can communicate that is more clear to the audience.
Yeah.
In your report or in your presentation.
Yeah, in my case narrative, I have put more weight to the weight to highlight.
But communicate that
yeah.
to the audience. And the other thing is now you talk about 2010 to 2020
Yeah.
period.
Yes.
Then let's say it's sort of you see like a time series.
Yes.
Right. But this is not purely quantitative.
Yeah.
But you're having some sort of semi-positivistic approach, as Dr. Samantha mentioned.
Yeah.
Therefore, I like if you can do some sort of what you call decompose. Like in this time series, if you can show that at this point or within this period, more impact from what you call entrepreneurial leadership. But this period more with the market orientation perspective. This period more operational excellence.
Exactly.
Perhaps maybe you are having some moderator variables.
Yeah, exactly.
But you select only maybe government policy or something, but there can be more than that.
So there's one more I have added, that shortage
Yes.
of skilled labor, which is one of the
Even more
major
than
concern.
that, if you read literature, what do you call environmental dynamism?
Dynamism.
There can be so many other factors.
Okay.
If you can maybe further research
In a
these
more
things, I
broader
think, yes, you
sense.
can incorporate.
Okay.
But if you can have sort of a mapping on this time series, which one is more powerful within which period? Something like you are having 10 years, no?
Yeah.
But perhaps one can be more contributing. If you can do something like that, dig into that, it's more, I think, contributing and more insightful.
Yeah, got it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your valuable feedback, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Charlie. Thank you, and also congratulations, and you did a great job. And case studies into the 10, you're analyzing of the 10 years as the same. So, same thing started with the 2001.
Yeah.
And then your time case studies period 2010 to 2020. Anyhow, because continuous growth you're analyzing on this period only.
Yeah, from 2010 to 2020.
Yeah, as Professor Dinesh said, if you have this time series, and you can easily, I can highlight it, what is the time series, with the range of their contribution and the growth and their contribution also.
Which driver is more prominent?
More important. My question is only selected entrepreneurs leadership and market oriented and operational excellence.
Yeah.
For the continuous growth, there are so many in other factors also.
Correct.
But if you are, I don't know, maybe in narrative, we didn't see that, but in narrative, you cannot say why you selected these three is special for this case. So that is important. And because if you select any case studies or any company and SMEs there are more factors for continuous growth.
Yeah.
But you selected some control measure. That except the control measure, there are main factors. But you selected three. But if you have the more rational for this, that is fine.
Okay.
Maybe a narrative, maybe I don't know. And that's all. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you very much for your valuable feedback, Professor.
Thank you, Mr. Charlie. Thank you very much. All the best. So, ladies and gentlemen, from PIM point of view, I want to express a point here. I think under the leadership of Dr. Sengi Kalumgamge, now this year for the PIMARC Research Conference, he has suggested to include these other studies, other categories like case studies, entrepreneurship skills, and so on. So there are multiple tracks happening. So in this track, this MFRP and MCRP, 2 tracks were introduced. And I think this is for the first time. So having 2 veteran professors coming forward and giving their perspectives, this is a good sign for the case study area to be further looked at and expanded in terms of the students' point of view. But I think your like comments are very much valued and insightful. Thank you very much once again. So as a track chair, I have my other duty of calling upon once again the Director PM, Dr. Senakal Gamage, to come forward. And let's, since we have both presenters here in the audience, so may I invite first Ms. RMC Priyadarshini to come forward and collect, take your certificate. So may I invite Mr. T. Chalita to come forward. Congratulations to both presenters. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to now show our gratitude to these two professors coming all the way while having their busy schedule, committing and giving their valuable, invaluable insights. May I invite first Professor Dinesh Samrasinghe from University of Monato to come forward and accept this small token of appreciation. May I invite Professor V. Siva Logathasan from Open University of Sri Lanka to come forward and accept this small token of appreciation. It's time for us to, thank you, Professor. It's time for us to take a group photograph. May I invite both the presenters and the 2 panelists to join. Dr. Jayathan, you also would like to join? I think you also can join. Both of you, come. No, otherwise you are missing this photograph. It's Christian to be like because conference secretary all the hard. Christian, please come. Please come. Yeah, so it was Christian because after the intentional of the job. Thank you very much. Good to see you back again after a long time. Congratulations.